Hey everybody, welcome to Campus Comics Cast, coming to you from Carbondale, Illinois, with special guests from the Campus Comics crew. And now, here's your host, the man with the previews in hand, Mike No.
Hello everybody, this is the for a while now absent Mike No here at Campus Comics. Scott and Dan are coming in today to do another podcast, and I haven't been in on the last few of them as they've recorded them along with Matt Martin, and I appreciate you guys carrying that on, Scott. Scott's here recording me here, so I appreciate them doing that. I just wanted to make a little statement here, first off, just thanking everybody for the support of the stores. You may know or may not, I have had some health issues, in early April, and I am, still alive and kicking and recovering, but, I got a little bit of a road ahead of me still, but hopefully, it'll be settling down a little bit more, and like I said, I want to thank everybody. The store has survived and done well in my absence, and with that, I owe a debt that I can't repay to people like, Dan Brown, Matt Martin. Scott's done his part here as well, and I just really appreciate that, as well as the customers that have just continued to come in and support the store. That means more than I can even begin to express. So thank you, and that's greatly appreciated. I'm very, very fortunate to be in the position I'm in, and like I said, to be able to be in this business that I love and have a job that I enjoy so much, and that it's worked out so well, because if I had a regular 9-to-5 job, by this time I would be out of vacation, benefit time, and everything else, and just to have people step up and help out and volunteer their time and their energies and everything, it's very humbling, however you want to say that. But like I said, I can, just can't thank those people enough. And now my daughter Sarah came in and, spent over a month, put her life on hold to come help me out and keep the store going. And now she's gone back home. And I've got some great customers that are, helping out here. I'm getting people lined out. So the erratic store hours that you've all been so tolerant about, in the last few weeks, hopefully we're going to get those settled down, get more back into a routine. We'll continue to post those on Facebook and Twitter to let everybody know what's going on, but we're trying to, get that to just be more, steady and be here more. So again, thanks to Dan Brown. He's here on Saturdays, every week. I'm being able to be in the store more and more, been able to check people out a little bit more and more, but just having some great customers and friends step up, appreciate Jeff Dixon, what he's done. Like previously mentioned, Matt Martin, what he's done to help, as always. Mickey Levan's covering Wednesdays for me. Today's actually his first day here covering for us, so thank you, Mickey. Dave Taylor's going to be covering on Thursdays, and these days I will be here too, so if there's anybody that wants to stop in and say hi, I'd love to see you, but I'm just at the point where I'm not comfortable yet being in the store by myself, and my wife's not quite comfortable with that either, so so we may still have to close a day or two there because I don't have anybody to be here with me, but hopefully as time moves on, that'll be less and less. So just stay tuned to the social media outlets that we mentioned, Facebook and Twitter, and just to stay up with what's going on with the shop. But again, on top of the thanks for just supporting the store regular day to day, I just want to thank everybody that showed up for a free comic book day. It was a phenomenal day that shattered all expectations. So, it was a great day. I think everybody had a good time, and people showed up. So just thanks everybody for setting a new bar for that event, So we look forward to many more, and that's my intent here. I'm not giving up that easy, and intend to to stay around. So I just wanted to take a little time before the next, what episode is it going to be? 43rd?
45.
45.
I think episode 45 is what's on deck.
Okay, so it's going to be recorded after this, but I just wanted to take a few minutes, and Scott came in to allow me to do that. And I just want to thank everybody from the bottom of my heart. And like I said, words can't express, and I owe a debt to everybody I can't repay. So thanks, everybody, and we'll be talking to you soon.
Okay, and thanks for listening to this new episode of the Campus Comics Cast. This is Dan Brown and
Scott Reed.
And it's just us tonight for this installment. We are coming to you from Campus Comics, located at 816 Suite B, East Main Street in Carbondale. Phone number 618-457-6011. And, of course, you can always follow us on Facebook and Twitter. We're going to be kind of doing a roundup of a few random things we haven't been able to get to yet on the podcast. Just, schedules and different crazy stuff that's been going on around the store, as people probably know about now. But we wanted to try to get another bonus episode in for everybody. And so, with schedules and everything, it's just me and Scott here this time. But we're going to talk about a few things we've been trying to get to for a little while now. So, we want to talk about Shazam, the movie, some. And we'll probably talk about Avengers Endgame, finally. And something we kind of should have been got to before now is the Detective Comics 1000.
Yep.
So we're going to start off tonight on this episode talking about Shazam. So Scott, what were your thoughts?
I was overall pretty pleased with it. Mm-hmm. Obviously, I liked it way better than Aquaman, so I'll get my dig in at Aquaman again one more time. It was good. It kind of fell into the same issue that like a lot of Marvel's movie have, where the hero fights the villain with similar power set.
Right.
So they kind of did that, and really kind of changed Savannah a lot from the comics, which I can understand people being upset about. But for me, I don't have a whole lot invested in Shazam, and I'll have to keep watching myself. I'll keep wanting to say Captain Marvel.
Oh yeah, for sure.
but overall, I enjoyed it.
Yeah. So,
yeah.
Yeah, I thought it was really good. I think overall, I think it's the best of these new crop of DC movies we've gotten, sort of post-Dark Knight. Mm-hmm. I think just as a whole movie, I think it just flowed really well. It felt like it knew what it wanted to be, and it didn't feel bogged down by trying to tie into anything else. Yep. You know what I mean? I feel like, this isn't a dark, moody movie, and it shouldn't be. No, it's superhero big, basically, and there's a couple references in there too big.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, some deliberate references exactly. In there. So, I mean, he's the big red cheese for a reason. So, yeah.
But, I thought it was really well done. I was kind of been apprehensive about it because I wasn't sure how they were going to pull this off. There's the whole, he says Shazam to turn into Shazam, which is his name. So how do they handle that? They don't really address it in the movie. They kind of gloss over it.
Yeah, I mean, we talked about that. You talked about that in the last episode where Mary Marvel is now Mary Shazam, which is kind of silly.
According to the preview solicits. But, and they kind of, again, spoilers. If you've been listening. Spoilers for this. If you're familiar with the new 52 version of the character, this kind of takes a lot from that, with Savannah especially, where he has sort of, he's going after the magic powers too that Shazam has. We didn't get a whole lot with the Wizard.
No.
And it just sort of, I don't know, we get this backstory of he's been trying to find a new champion.
Right.
For decades. And just it sort of seems like he's just randomly selecting people. And they finally get to Billy after 40 years, maybe,
or
at least.
Yeah.
Because that's how Savannah comes into the story. Is he's considered when he's a child, and it feels, I don't know. It feels. I don't feel like they thought about the Wizard's story enough, and you know what I mean. Again, it doesn't detract from Billy's story, but it's a little kind of weird. It's like the one thing, it's like, why didn't you spend a little more time on that or kind of come up with some better logic for that?
Yeah, I feel like at the end when they chose Billy just because he was the only guy left.
Yeah, exactly. And that's the thing, and it doesn't make your hero feel special.
No.
It's not like Green Lantern. The ring chooses you.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, you're a unique thing, even though you're part of this army. You know what I mean? But, like, with Shazam, it just felt random.
Yep.
But I thought it was really well done. What I was apprehensive about didn't come to pass with the movie. It didn't feel... Most of these movies, you feel like there's too many cooks in the kitchen. I don't feel like that was the case here. Yep. And of course, we get the big reveal at the end where all the other foster children...
Yes. And that was a surprise for me. Yeah. I really was not expecting to introduce the Marvel family in the first movie,
Yeah.
or it might have been a post credit scene or something like that. I didn't expect them to say, "Oh, let's just go ahead and throw
Yeah.
another 6 in there with him."
And I was wondering if they were going to do that because they've kind of been pushing that since Jeff Johns has kind of been involved with Shazam. And there were some toys that were released of the characters, but it's like, is this story? Because movie toys aren't always the most accurate.
Right.
You know what I mean? Batman never had a helicopter in those Dark Knight movies, but they kept releasing that thing.
Like HeroClix released Skrulls whenever the first Avengers movie came out. So yeah.
So you got to take that stuff with a grain of salt, as far as merchandising and everything. But I thought it was really well done. I liked the other kids too. It didn't. I mean, it always feels a little like money grab when they introduce a lot of characters like that.
Right.
As far as merchandising and everything goes in a movie, in a modern superhero movie, that's kind of what you get. But yeah, it felt really well done.
Well, I know a lot of people. Some of the complaints that I read from people online was the fact that they were playing it as a superhero big. Whereas I guess the original incarnation of Shazam, it wasn't, or Captain Marvel, it wasn't superhero big. It was two distinct personalities.
Exactly.
And some people are upset about it. It's like, oh, you get that. That's not my Captain Marvel. It's not my Shazam.
Yeah, but that brings up some weird issues with a kid in our modern climate. You know what I mean? You can do that in the 40s. I don't think that would play as well in 2019.
Yeah.
Especially with just the cultural permeance of the big movie, the Tom Hanks movie. You know what I mean? People it's kind of a shorthand at this point. People, I think, get on board a little quicker.
Yeah.
Because then you've got a whole thing of like, I don't know, more sort of like the Marvel Captain Marvel, Rick Jones.
Right.
Like, where does Billy go?
Yeah.
When he becomes Shazam, that brings up some weird questions, and could be some odd things there you have to explain. And like, where's Shazam when Billy's here? You know what I mean?
Oh yeah. I mean, I understand it. So it almost makes more sense this way. But I just know that's some of the complaints that I was hearing about the movie. So I did really, really like the interaction between Billy and Freddy. I think that kind of carried the movie a little bit.
Yeah.
I like those two characters.
I really like Freddy.
Yeah.
In this too. I thought he was really well done. I liked how in sort of the modern Jeff Johns Shazam, like the new 52 story especially, Billy was really kind of a jerk when the story starts out, and he becomes a nicer kid over the course of it. But I'm glad they didn't go as hard into that in the movie as they could have. I wasn't crazy about the story with his parents and all that and how that evolved, but over the course of the movie, it's like, okay, it's a little easier to take.
Yeah.
I really sort of prefer the Jerry Ordway Power of Shazam origin story, where his parents are archaeologists and get lost, and Billy's dad looks suspiciously a lot like Captain Marvel, which would just mean that when Billy grows up, he will look like Captain Marvel, like Shazam. It's just an older him is kind of what you're getting with Shazam, which they kind of played up in Kingdom Come back in the day,
right?
Where you have an adult Billy who everyone just thinks is Captain Marvel. But there's a lot of fun Easter eggs.
Oh yeah, like the big one was at the very beginning. You get the little glass dome with the worm inside of it, and then like halfway through the movie, the glass is broken.
Yeah,
and
I thought, oh, that's really cool, but I'm like, they're not going to do Mr. Mind.
No.
Like, that's such a cool throwaway thing. That's neat.
Yeah.
But then at the end, spoilers, Mr. Mind is talking to Savannah in his cell.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, that's amazing.
Who knows they'll actually do it?
I know, but it's so cool that we got a live action, quote unquote, Mr. Mind in a movie.
But then I guess the other post credit scene. So if you haven't seen this movie yet, just know that there are two post credit scenes, and then the other one is where they're the joke, an Aquaman joke about they're trying to figure out if he has fish powers or not, to be able to communicate with animals, so which was kind of humorous.
So do we want to talk about the awkward Superman scene at the end?
Oh gosh,
in the lunchroom.
Yeah, well, yeah, I guess that's what Cavill would have been in if there wasn't some disagreement, or if he had time to schedule it or not.
Yeah,
I guess we still don't know officially if he's in or out.
Yeah, I mean, the story I heard was they wanted him to come make that cameo. He had scheduling issues where he couldn't make it. I think it might be because of the Witcher show on Netflix. I'm not 100% on that. Don't quote me on that, but I believe that's what I heard at the time. So we get this sort of truncated shot, like Peanuts style, from the kid's point of view, where Superman comes on the screen from the neck down.
Yep.
So, I don't know. I just feel like if you can't get Cavill, why couldn't we get one of these other characters? Why, the kids, like Freddy's really into Aquaman. Why not just have Jason Momoa show up? Everybody loves Aquaman right now.
Yeah, well, Wonder Woman's done filming. Get
exactly.
Gal Gadot to come in, anything like that. But, yep.
Still would have been super cool. And kind of a nice sort of easy way to tie in Shazam to your DC universe if you want to do that. It just felt a little awkward. I don't know. And again, like, they got rid of his mustache. They can't just do some face replacement, get a stand in and throw Cavill's face on it.
Or just,
I don't know.
Just take some footage from one of the other movies and just unused footage from one of the other movies and just splice it in there or whatever. You know, it wouldn't take a whole lot. So like they did with, Natalie Portman in Endgame.
But overall, I thought it was really well done. I'm looking forward to the next one.
If there is a next one.
Yeah.
So. I don't remember how this one did at the box office. I mean, it won a few weekends.
Yeah,
in a row.
I think it did.
What,
well
two?
enough.
I think it won 2 weekends, and then did it win until Endgame came out? Because it came out.
I don't think so. But again, had we been recording this earlier, it'd be fresher in my mind. Mm-hmm. But yeah, it was worth seeing. I really liked it.
I graded it a very fine minus.
I want to bring this up real quick too. As far as how much money this movie made, Zachary Levi, the star, mentioned that each suit cost $1 million. The suit lights up like that's not a CG effect. There's practical lighting built into his Shazam outfit.
Wow!
And they had the battery pack behind the cape. He said, but he said they made 10 suits and each one cost $1 million. For comparison.
Wow.
Ben Affleck's Batman suit, Cavill's Superman suit, those are about $100,000 each to make, to produce those.
That even still seems like a lot.
It is.
Yeah.
But again, 10 times that for each suit. They spent $10 million just on his suit. And it's like, I think it looks good. Mm-hmm. Does it look $1 million? Does it look like $1 million, Scott?
I don't know.
I don't know. But it's just like, I mean, if they've got the money, good for them.
Yeah. But
I feel like, for the movie you're maybe not 100% sold on, was that the best financial decision to make? So
I had not heard that.
Yeah, so, and I couldn't believe that when I heard that. I'm like, it looks good. I don't think it's $1 million good.
No.
But,
I think somebody made a couple of bucks making those suits.
For sure. And again, I don't know what all technology is in there to make it light up that way. But I can't imagine it's that crazy. I'm sure it was a custom thing for the suit. But yeah. Yeah, no, as far as grading it go, I'll give it a near mint. I really enjoyed it. I think just as an overall piece, it's really well-rounded. Mm-hmm. I think, they accomplished what they set out to. I think it's a good story. Again, I think it's the best of these new DC movies, the sort of Snyderverse or whatever we're going to call it now.
Well, don't diss the Snyderverse. I still like the Snyderverse.
Right.
So.
But, I don't think there's too much to poke holes in here as far as this goes. And, it takes place at Christmas, so this might be my new Christmas movie. I don't really have like
a replace Die Hard.
Yeah, see that's the thing. I'm not really on that boat. I don't have a good Christmas movie to watch like that. So that might be Shazam now.
Okay.
As far as that goes, might be a new tradition for me. Is there anything else you wanted to say about Shazam?
I think it covers it for me. So yeah.
Okay. So and I can't remember who it was now, but somebody online mentioned we've gotten 2 Captain Marvel movies now where they don't say Captain Marvel in them.
Yep.
And again, it's not the first time there's been a Shazam movie either. There's the old Adventures of Captain Marvel serials from the 40s, which are actually really good. If you want to check out some movie serials, that's a good one to watch. That's actually pretty solid for an old school serial and still holds up decently. So moving on from that, want to talk about Avengers Endgame?
Yeah, sure, might as well. So
11 years. Leading up to this, right? This is what they started. This is what they set out to do with Iron Man back in 2008, right?
Yep.
21, 20, how many?
22
movies.
22 movies, I think.
Man.
Yeah, it's a big deal, and it didn't let me down. That's for sure. So, yeah, I it's kind of hard to go into any movie with expectations, and after Infinity War, there was pretty high expectations.
Oh, for sure.
Now, I had somebody Mike, actually, I was talking to Mike before we started recording, and he said, I had given the only negative comment that he had heard about Endgame, and that was, it's not quite as good as Infinity War. So I guess if that's its one big negative.
I've heard some other people say that, too. I don't feel that way, but I have heard others say that.
That was my
take. As good as Infinity War.
I felt like it was more, it's kind of like an Empire Strikes Back type of a thing, where you kind of end on a you really don't know what's going to happen next type of a situation like we had in Empire Strikes Back. And then while Endgame didn't let me down, I can't say you were expecting more, but I was expecting something a little bit different and didn't quite get that. I expected it to have more of an impact I guess, moving forward on some of the films than what it actually.
I feel like there's going to be some fallout from this film.
Yeah,
you know.
But it wasn't quite what I expected. I guess just to flat out say it, I actually expected more of the main characters to die.
Yeah, I was kind of thinking that too.
Really, for as big of an event as this was, the body count was actually, especially on the good guy side, was actually pretty low.
Well, especially when you are dealing with negatives.
Yeah,
as far as body count goes.
Yeah.
You've got definitely a lower body count from Infinity War because half the universe comes back to life in this movie.
Yes.
So,
yeah, spoiler there.
Yeah.
I guess probably the first thing that really surprised me, and it's nice to go into this movie and actually be surprised. That's one of the complaints I had, against, again, gosh, I keep bringing up Aquaman. I need to get off this. But there was I had zero surprises watching Aquaman.
Right.
So watching Endgame, and one of the first things not one of the first things, but
early on,
one, I didn't expect him to, kill Thanos right there in the first few minutes of the movie.
No way.
Holy smokes. And then we get the 5 years later, and I'm like, okay, did not expect that to happen either. Yeah. So, I thought it was going to be a matter of just a few days that this story is going to take place after Infinity War, and that was a big surprise for me.
You're right, yeah. No, I wasn't expecting the 5-year jump. I don't know how well that was thought out as far as going forward with these movies.
Yeah.
I feel like that could definitely, and again, this is coming from the comic book world where you have continuity-obsessed fans. These movies have a pretty big following now.
Yes.
Is that going to translate to these movies too, where now it's like, I don't think everything was kind of thought out ahead of time with that 5-year jump. I think we kind of had a similar thing with DC in the comics with the New 52 where they did that.
Right.
Because now it's like, so we're Far From Home, the next Spider-Man film is coming out in July. So we're all him and all his friends snapped out at the same time? Because they're all still in high school.
Yeah, that's
so some of his friends who survived should be in college by now or moved on with their lives.
Or just maybe the ones that were in the movies, his buddies, are the ones that didn't.
Yeah.
They were snapped out, so they're all going back to high school.
Yeah.
So it is kind of weird.
Yeah, there's a lot of practical things that, you're probably are not going to be addressed in these movies.
Yeah. I guess, they're not going to start that in 2023 or 2024, which is when it would be if, assuming
exactly. Yeah,
Infinity War took place in 2018.
Right.
Then there's no telling there. So
and again, I don't think it's that big of a deal.
No.
But it's just something I feel like you kind of have to watch now when you're making these movies, and why hinder yourself that way? Yeah. You know what I mean?
You got to watch the continuity. So
especially when you have all these movies that are interconnected. You have so many spinning plates, and then it's like, they're doing another Captain Marvel movie. So then it's like, so she's been gone for 30 years, 5 more years? You know what I mean?
Yep.
So yeah, just weird kind of things like that.
I guess, one thing for me about this is when you think about who the real hero of this movie actually is, it's the Rat. Right?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, because nothing would have happened if this Rat hadn't just randomly brought Scott Lang back. They would still be living with half the population gone. So I guess maybe Vermin will be a big villain moving forward.
Oh boy.
Maybe he'll show up in the Spider-Man movie.
Only if we get a Death or Craven movie. So
I think my biggest surprise in the movie was the death of Black Widow.
Yeah, I wasn't expecting that.
Because there's another movie coming. There's a Black Widow movie
Again, part of the reason I thought she wouldn't die in this movie.
Yeah. So I guess we're getting a prequel movie is what we're going to get out of her, which I hadn't heard anything about it being a prequel. So that whole scene was a big shock.
I think I could still be pretty good though too. Either way, you know what I mean?
Yeah. It'd be nice to either see her origin story. That would be good, or just even a good spy.
Yeah, just a standalone thing is fine with her. You could really do that. Will be surprised if they don't adapt the Mark Waid, Chris Somney run from a few years ago that was really good, and just sort of a 12-issue standalone story that kind of deals with her origin some too and stuff like that. That seems like a no-brainer.
Yeah.
But yeah, her and Gamora, I thought for sure, by the end of this, they'll be back.
Yep.
And they're not.
No. Yeah. So now, obviously, I'm a Captain America fan. So I was super excited about the whole Captain America storyline. When I watched the first Avengers, I had 3 complaints about the first Avengers movie. One was that I thought there should have been a plaque or something in there that said Hank and Janet Pym. I thought that should have been in the movie. And then I thought in the scene where Cap Iron Man and Thor meet, and Thor does the whole clang off his shield. I really felt like Cap should have picked up the hammer and handed it back to
I'm right there with you.
You know,
and not even make a big deal.
No, and just not even know that it's a big deal.
Like maybe Thor reacts, but nobody else questions it. Yeah, I was totally with that.
Yeah,
I was totally waiting for that back then.
And then Cap was supposed to get his dance with Peggy. You know, those were the three things that I thought. If they would have done that in Avengers, it would have been a perfect movie.
Right.
So now moving forward to Endgame, I get 2 out of 3 of those things.
Right.
You know, and of course they've brought Hank and Janet Pym back in now.
Right.
So
do we ever get a shot with the original team in it? Because I was trying to figure that out as I was watching it. Because we have everybody now. We have the original Avengers team as it premiered in the comic books.
Gosh,
I was trying to think.
No, because Hank Pym is just kind of in it.
I was kind of thinking of like just Ant-Man in general. Like it would be Scott Lang.
I don't remember. I don't remember unless it's at one point whenever they're going back in time. They're all kind of together, but they're all in their costumes at that point.
Yeah.
So,
but that would have been something cool just to kind of throw away Easter egg thing to put in there.
You put them in the poses from Avengers 1 or something like that.
Or just have the team have that version of the team together for a mission or something.
Of course, so I got those moments, so that was super excited. And then, of course, I think, maybe, I don't know, this is kind of tough. The whole thing where Cap finally gets to pick up the hammer and uses it.
Oh, man.
I went totally fanboy in the theater.
Oh, I did too.
Yeah. And I've never done that in a movie before. But
like you, I was waiting 7 years for that.
Yeah. And the other scene, though, where Cap is walking out by himself to face Thanos and Thanos' army behind him, and it's like I actually thought, okay, I thought Cap was going to die in this movie because of contract
right
things. So
and like you've already got the other guys who can take up the shield, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
They've kind of established that.
But that scene was just like, those are my 2 favorite scenes in this movie. They were just really, really good. So I'm completely geeked out over that movie just because. And if I've been fanboy about any movie, this is the one that maybe it's not as good as I think it is, just because of those moments really just kind of push me over the top on.
Box office might say otherwise.
Well, yeah. Well, I'm not a person who thinks that box office makes a good movie. So there are a lot of crappy movies that sell a lot of tickets. So, but again, I expected a whole lot more, of the original team to actually die. And I guess we're going to end up with Thor. I guess is going to be in the next Guardians movie.
And that's the thing. I thought for sure Chris Hemsworth's gone.
Yeah.
I'm like, it's story-wise, it's such an easy character to kill off and bring back and recast. It's, just an easy thing for, they're all gods and all this stuff. It'd be super easy story-wise to do that.
Yeah. And with his complaints about, I guess at some point he got bored with the character, which is why they've started playing him more for laughs.
Right.
And I'm like, that's my number one biggest complaint. I despise what they're doing with Thor. I didn't like him in Thor Ragnarok. I didn't like him in Endgame. It was good at the beginning, but as soon as they went Big Lebowski with Thor, I was done with that character. And I'm still not a Mark Ruffalo fan on Hulk. I don't know why. I just don't. He looked confused to me all through Ragnarok, and he didn't really get any better here in Endgame, at least for my take on it.
What were your thoughts on Smart Hulk?
It's obviously it's from the books,
right?
So I'm okay with that part of it, but it was just like it didn't matter. It didn't really impact the story one way or another. It's like a throwaway scene, any of those scenes where he was doing the gamma testing, the time travel testing, that could have just been Banner. Didn't have to be Professor Hulk, and he didn't really have. It wasn't like a big brute, there.
Right.
It kind of was silly when they, of course, the time travel in this one. He goes back to the big battle in the first Avengers movie, and he's like, he rips off his shirt, like, I'll get gratuitous, and he's kind of silly walking around, and smashing stuff. And it was just, I didn't care for the Hulk scenes. I didn't care for the Thor scenes.
I feel like, again, they've been open about this, is we're not getting a Hulk movie right now.
Right.
I've kind of been hoping they would do some version of Smart Hulk, just because we've had several just regular Hulk smash movies now. Let's do something new. How do we reinvigorate the character a little bit? Something with a little more dimension. And I just feel like it's almost feels like a truncated version of what you should have gotten in a Hulk movie. It should be its own thing. Again, they're kind of wedging him into other movies now to kind of accommodate that. I mean, I like Ruffalo fine. I thought overall, just in general, with Endgame, with Endgame, I feel like the CGI is better than it was in Infinity War. There weren't any really bad scenes that kind of stuck out, looked like floating heads or anything like that we had with Infinity War. Again, I feel like it's just there was probably a ton of pressure in this production. You know, you have all these years of build up to this movie, and I think they knew it. Yep. You know what I mean? So I feel like everybody kind of brought their A game here with this.
I did like Hawkeye got a nice story arc, I felt like, in this movie, you know, because he's the focus there at the beginning, and then of course we got the Ronin stuff, right. And then, you know, his, you know, that brief scene where he time travels back, and then of course he gets his family back at the end. So I thought we hadn't really seen a whole lot of Hawkeye, right. And he just kind of and they still never called him Hawkeye.
Is he getting a show?
Well, I think he's supposed to be getting there's supposed to be a Kate Bishop show.
Oh, okay.
And he's going to be kind of like a mentor. But I've kind of heard that same thing about the Hulk. There's supposed to be like a She-Hulk show.
Oh, really?
Where Mark Ruffalo is going to kind of be...
I can't keep up right now with all this Marvel stuff they're putting on that Disney app and different things.
And you have to wonder what percentage of this is just... you know, chatter just to keep interest going, you know, and how much of it actually is actually going to happen. And I guess because there's supposed to be a Loki show,
and then of course like Vision and Scarlet Witch. Vision is still gone. Apparently, everyone's fine with that over the course of Endgame. No one says, "Hey, let's bring back Vision."
And there's going to be a Cap Winter Soldier show as well. So, is it Max Vision or Maximum Vision is what it's going to be for the Vision Scarlet Witch show?
Oh, I don't know.
I think that's what it's supposed to be called.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So who knows? I mean, and it's good in the sense that it's driving the secondary market for a lot of those books.
Right.
I mean, like the Professor Hulk appearance shot up in value. The Secret Wars book where Hulk's holding up the mountain. You know, that shot up in value a little bit. You know,
a random thing.
Yeah. Well, and the first appearance of Beta Ray Bill tripled in value like practically overnight. And I haven't actually heard anything, you know, that's going to happen with Beta Ray Bill.
Yeah.
But that book just went from a $40, $50 book to a $100, $120 book, and literally practically overnight.
Yeah. Huh.
So it's like I guess somebody got on and bought all the $40 copies, and everything that was left was much more valuable than everybody else, jacked up their prices when they saw they were selling.
Crazy.
But yeah, it doesn't make a whole lot of sense.
I'd love to see Beta Ray Bill in a movie.
Oh,
we kind of got that Easter egg in Ragnarok, but and we've got Stormbreaker now.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah.
Well, of course, Mjolnir's gone again.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, all we have is Stormbreaker now.
Yeah.
So, you mentioned Vision didn't come back. We didn't see any Coulson, and we didn't see any Sif.
Yeah, and I thought Coulson was supposed to have an appearance. I thought I avoided spoilers. I was able to because I wasn't able to see it opening weekend. But yeah, I kept assuming Coulson would show up.
Yeah, and I did too. Now, okay, weird. And just not talking about Endgame, but there's a new season of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. started last Friday. Mm-hmm. I had no idea. My DVR just automatically recorded it. So, yeah, Coulson's back there, but spoiler for Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. Sorry, we didn't say we were going to spoil Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.
Right.
But, but anyway, getting back to Endgame. So, those three characters, I think those are the three biggest ones that I could think of that weren't back, and they brought back pretty much everybody else.
Yeah, like there was a lot of fun cameos in there and stuff, just trying to get everybody in there, I think.
Yeah.
And again, it's kind of putting a button on, 22 stories
exactly.
here.
When the heroes come back and we get the on the left from Sam Wilson.
Yeah.
That was an awesome scene. And then I got to mention this one. So Cap, they're going back in time. They got to get one of the gems back. We go back to the elevator scene, Winter Soldier. So nice. Cap's standing in the middle, and he leans over to Sitwell. Is it Sitwell? Jasper Sitwell?
I think so. It's hard to remember.
And he whispers, "Hail Hydra!"
Oh man!
And it's like people were complaining about that. But that was just so good.
I would do that.
Yes,
that was what I mean.
Such
if you
a good
could just
scene.
get through that,
Yeah, that was such a good scene. So there's lots of throwbacks to the comics, lots of throwbacks to the other movies. Just, it really did kind of cap, like you've been saying.
And I didn't realize Robert Redford was going to be in there.
No, that was a big surprise.
I thought for sure, he won't come back. I've never even thought about him coming back to these movies.
Yeah, now Loki was dead, but of course now Loki's going to be alive again.
Right.
So he's going to be able to come back for his TV show, and So they actually kind of built in a way to bring some of these characters back if they need to at some point in the future. So, do you think, I had somebody mention this to me, do you think that the Hulk is permanently crippled?
I heard someone mention that online, like the directors
Really?
or somebody said that, and I thought that was really weird.
Yeah.
I feel like Hulk's always been able to kind of heal himself pretty well.
My response to that was, well, it was the Infinity Gauntlet, so it's a bigger scale, but
I can't imagine he's got a cast in the next movie.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I mean, maybe they do, but it's like, to what end?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, there's no point in having Hulk movies if he's an injured Hulk.
Yeah, for sure.
Moving forward. So.
Yeah, he's not the wheelchair-bound Brainiac. You know what I mean? Like, he turns big and green and breaks things.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So.
Let's see. I already complained about Thor, didn't I? I don't need to do any more about that. So, okay, good. Though the Rene Russo scenes were really good.
Yeah,
so I did like her coming back. I mean, literally, other than those three characters, Vision, Sif, and Coulson, there's not anybody that I could think of that was major in any of the other previous movies that, hero-wise, that we didn't see.
I
come
really
back.
Think
I
of
mean,
anyone.
they really brought them all back. So.
So again, at the end, we have the funeral scene for Tony Stark.
Right.
So there was somebody in the crowd I didn't recognize. Had to look it up.
Way. Yeah.
So it sounds like a lot of people had this. So that is the kid from Iron Man 3 is what they're confirming, right?
Yeah.
This is the kid he teams up with in Iron Man 3 who's at the funeral.
I guess are they setting him up to be the next Iron Man?
I feel like they're kind of doing that with Spider-Man.
Really? Okay.
Yeah. Like, I don't think he'll be Iron Man. I think he'll continue to be Spider-Man, but I think he will fill that spot.
So?
I think he'll be the tech guy.
See, I think Shuri will be the tech person moving forward.
Oh,
they kind of established that in Infinity War because she was the one that figured out how to get the gem out of Vision,
right?
And Banner and Tony Stark couldn't do it. So I don't know that they won't use him. I had kind of thought that they would use this as a reason to bring Riri Williams in,
right?
And because obviously, if we want to nitpick about something, we have the definite diversity scene, right, in this movie where all the female heroes.
Oh yeah,
and that's fine. It felt a little forced, but and they were obviously doing it to get people to comment on that.
Right.
So I thought that scene was a little forced, but still, it's cool to see all of them together.
Right. Yeah. And maybe more of them should get movies.
Maybe
we just don't need Captain Marvel.
No.
Maybe Black Widow needs a movie. Maybe some of these.
Well, Black Widow's getting one.
I don't know.
But I wouldn't mind seeing a rescue movie. I wouldn't mind seeing we kind of got a Wasp movie. I mean, really, she kind of was the lead, I thought, in Ant-Man and Wasp. And then, of course, Shuri was in that scene, and Valkyrie was in that scene. And who am I leaving out?
Oh, man. Someone's yelling at us right now because they're listening. I mean, they're probably with some others, but and Captain Marvel was there too. Yeah, so I think you mentioned her already. So maybe they'll do an A-Force.
Yeah, I guess so. And maybe that's what they're going to move towards. So, but I don't see Gwyneth Paltrow wanting to do a movie.
Imagine.
I mean, who knows? Maybe I'm wrong. I guess money talks, right? But overall, I was just it was a really, really nice cap to phase 3,
for sure,
of the storyline. So, and and I was sitting there talking to somebody that's like, what do we have next? Like, we don't really know a whole lot moving forward. We know we got Black Panther 2, Captain Marvel 2, we got a Doctor Strange 2 coming.
Yeah.
We have we assume we're going to get a Fantastic Four at some point. Oh, man. That's, why would they go through all that trouble?
Right. And that was the thing I was really hoping for at the end of this movie. I was really hoping for some kind of post-credit setting up something with that. Or the X-Men or something. You know what I mean?
And I guess that's something worth mentioning. This is the first one that didn't technically have a credit scene.
Yeah, no after credits on this.
No after credits on this one. Now we did get the sound, at the end. And I actually had somebody sitting beside me in the theater commented that, oh, maybe it's, Riri Williams building her armor. Yeah. But it's going back to the actual, Robert Downey Jr. in the first Iron Man movie, the sound whenever he's putting together the armor in Iron Man 1. So it's just kind of a throwback to that. I'm looking at my notes right now to see if there's anything else that I wanted to say about it. So, but yeah, I guess, my complaints were still Thor, Ruffalo, and then expected a little bit bigger impact for, in loss of life for some of the heroes. So I guess maybe they just didn't want to have, anybody big who dies, they've got to give them a big scene, you know?
Yeah.
And how many big scenes can you have? Unless without making that movie 4 hours long instead of 3 hours long.
Yeah, that's the thing. Yeah, and that's the thing, too. When I was in the theater, it didn't, you had all kinds of trailers and previews and stuff, too, beforehand, but it still didn't feel like 3 hours to me.
No.
When I was sitting there.
When I saw it the second time, the Act 1 felt like it dragged on a little bit longer.
Did it?
Yeah. But I didn't notice that the first time I watched it, but the second time I watched it, was like, okay, let's get moving. It felt a little slower. But and then I don't know how many people were sobbing uncontrollably whenever you watched it the first time. When I watched it the first time, there was a girl who was sobbing hysterically during the Iron Man death scene. It was crazy.
Well, I mean, it just shows that these movies are connecting with people. You know.
Oh. We didn't talk about Stan Lee cameo.
Oh, yeah. So is this the last? Have they confirmed?
That's what I've heard, is this is the last Stan Lee cameo. So we get back into the 70s, and he's, they de-aged him as well.
Right.
Was that, I guess it couldn't have been because his wife would have passed before they would have filmed that.
Probably.
That would have been great if they could have filmed the
two
two of
sure.
them.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know, and I didn't look at the passenger in the car.
Yeah, it's such a quick thing, too.
And it's like one of his shortest cameos, too.
Well, I wouldn't be surprised.
Yeah.
Again, I can't imagine they don't do Easter egg things with him moving forward like they do on the Marvel Netflix shows, where he's just like a photo on a wall or something like that. Maybe make it a more of a game of like, where's Stan Lee in the movies? I can't imagine they don't do something like that.
First episode of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., they had a thank you Stan, there at the very beginning of the first episode. So we'll still see something for Stan. I would like for them, moving forward, if they're just going to digitally do stuff and not be filming it, to also do a little Jack in there as well.
That would be the way to go, you would think.
Because, a lot of these characters are probably more Jack Kirby than they are Stan Lee. So, but anyway, that's for another discussion for another time.
That's a whole other podcast. We got another Infinity Gauntlet in this movie. With Iron Man's suit.
More merchandise for
and they've announced them. They were showing, like, I think Hot Toys is making one, and then Hasbro's making one to kind of complement their Infinity Gauntlet they make that we have on display here at the store. And again, it's for the right hand, and that's intentional too, so they can make more merchandise.
Yes, one in each hand.
Yeah, you can have them both. I'll definitely be buying the Hasbro when it comes out. The others are probably going to be too pricey for me.
I guess they could do even a third one if they wanted to do the Hulk version as well.
Right.
So, because it would be much larger.
I tell you what, that was the one thing I really wanted from Infinity War that we didn't get. When Ruffalo was wearing the Hulkbuster armor, I kept expecting him to change while he was wearing the armor and maybe kind of bust it up a little bit, but have like chunks of it on him. And I thought, they'll do it in Endgame. Yeah, never got it.
Nope.
So, yeah.
Yeah, and I guess we never got other than him talking, we never got an explanation of the shift. He just, he was in the armor, and then 5 years later, he's Professor Hulk. So.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't know. I think that's everything I had to say about it. Hooray, Captain America, and the job that they did with, wrapping up his story.
Right,
so.
yeah. So, like, after I watched the movie, I'm like, I kind of want to watch them all again now. And I'm thinking, like, I kind of want to do them in chronological where they take place, because I feel like you start with Captain America, the First Avenger, and end with this. It's a really good arc for Steve.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I feel like, and then I think, so the second movie would be Captain Marvel, right?
Yep.
Then I think if you watch all these movies, you forget about her.
Yes.
Until she shows back up.
Yep.
And I think that'd be a really cool way to kind of play that. So I feel like that's the way I'll watch these movies when I go back to them now.
Any of them you'll skip? You just gonna watch them all?
I'll probably watch them all. I like most of them. Like, people always rag on Iron Man 2. I really like Iron Man 2.
I like them all well enough to watch them again.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, there's none of them that I dislike so much that I wouldn't watch again.
I'm not saying there wouldn't be a few that might be a slog to get through again, but I like them all well enough.
Just bag and board comics while you're
right, exactly. I need to. Yeah.
All right. Well,
so rating it.
Yeah, I gave it like a very fine plus.
Yeah.
So it's there are still better Marvel movies for me, but this just really was just a really nice ending to the Phase 3 for me. So
yeah, I'm going with near mint on this one. I feel like it's it's so easy they could have dropped the ball on this.
Yeah.
You know, and it feels like that's kind of been their MO throughout. Like, you're making an Iron Man movie, whatever. They knock it out of the park. Guardians of the Galaxy? Are you kidding me? We're getting a Guardians of the Galaxy movie? Terrific.
I never questioned it until the Guardians of the Galaxy movie. I was like, really? Guardians of the Galaxy? That's where we're going? And then, like, when Ant-Man came around, I was like, well, if they can do Guardians of the Galaxy, they can do Ant-Man.
Yeah, after Guardians, I kind of quit questioning it. You know what I mean? Like, they figured that formula out. They've got it.
Yep.
You know, here we are now. Again, I feel like it's a nice way to kind of wrap up their movies, even though it, you know, and a lot of people have asked me this too, is this the last Marvel movie?
Oh, gosh, no.
It's like, no, of course it's not, but that's kind of how they've been playing it up, and there's not a lot of hype about the other movies except Spider-Man, which comes out in like 2 months.
Yeah.
You know, so they kind of have to get the hype rolling on that.
Well, that's more too because they don't, I mean, you know, if you're like us, we already know there's going to be another Black Panther movie.
Right.
So it's like, it was not a shock. You know, when I saw Infinity War and Black Panther disappears, people literally gasp.
Right.
You know, and it's like he's got another movie coming. You know, he's coming back. You know, it's not a big deal.
I will say though too, the black kids sitting next to me in the theater cheered when he showed back up.
Well,
they were super
cheering.
into it.
Yeah, everybody was cheering whenever he showed back up. So when everybody showed back up, everybody was cheering. So.
Yeah.
Okay, if we want to nitpick something here, should Sam have gotten the shield or should have went to Bucky?
Oh man. That's a tough one. I don't feel qualified to answer that. Yeah, because they both had it recently in the comics.
Yep. And in the comics, the order was Bucky, then Sam.
Had Sam ever done anything like that before?
What do you mean?
Like before this sort of current recent iteration, like back in the 70s or anything, like when he was teaming up with Cap back in the day?
Would he have comboed? I don't recall anything, but I'm sure at some point in one issue was Sam holding the shield at some point?
Well, yeah,
absolutely. But
I don't remember him ever kind of taking over though for a while.
Not until you know after Cap came back and was too old.
Yeah,
you know, and Bucky kind of I guess after Bucky quote unquote died at the end of did he die at the end of, let's see,
in Secret Empire or before that?
He died before Secret Empire, but it wasn't even. Gosh,
it's hard to keep all this straight.
I know. I can't remember what event it was.
Comic continuity, folks.
He got his arm ripped off, but they thought he was dead. But he was basically there was a .1 issue where he's immediately revived. So it was like they did even delay that coming back anytime at all. What storyline was that? That's terrible. Oh well, it's not.
You can look it up. Google.
Yeah.
That's what Google's for.
So I kind of would have liked to. To have seen Bucky have it first, but just because that's what happened in the comics first,
right?
Okay. Did Bucky know what Cap was doing whenever he went back? That's another good question.
Yeah, I don't know. And oh man, the way they set that up, I'm like, he's not coming back.
Yeah, no.
They just played that up. They spent too much time on that. Like he's going to be right back. It's like,
nope, he's not going to be. Well, you saw what Bucky said to him was different than what Sam and the Hulk said to him. Because Bucky told him goodbye.
Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah. So he probably did know that.
So and then of course you could get into the whole argument about how time travel works in the Marvel Cinematic versus how it works. And I don't want to go.
Yeah,
there.
Let's not.
No, let's don't go there.
That brings up some other issues people have been complaining about online that I don't want to get into.
No. I set aside the whole. I'm just accepting the time travel as they presented it. And I'm just going to move on from that. So.
Right. But yeah, no, I thought it was really well done. Again, surprising there wasn't some sort of after credit. They've made it such a staple of these movies and have trained the audience to stay and watch this stuff. I mean, I can understand why they didn't for this, but again, it just seems like a spot for some kind of
something to show what's coming in Phase 4 is what should have happened. There should have been something. Because, at the end of Phase 2, that last Phase 2 movie, they still had an after-credit scene. At the end of Phase 1 movies, they still had an after-credit scene. So they should have given us a hint of what was coming in Phase 4.
Yeah, and I think just the other thing with that is that Joe Blow, at this point, knows there's an after-credit to stick around for.
Well, I still see people walking out.
Yeah, but just play into, oh, well, this is it then. Mm-hmm. People think they're not setting up something else. This must be the end, So, and of course we know it's not, but it's not the best publicity for your movie, I guess. So
maybe could be excited whenever they say, "Oh, there is another Captain Marvel movie," or "There is another Black Panther movie."
Yeah.
So.
Good times though.
So I saw it twice in the theater.
Again, how is Endgame the title a spoiler?
Yeah, okay.
They couldn't say the name for so long, and that's the name. And I think we addressed this on an earlier episode, but it's just like, this is what you're building towards. That's why it's an Endgame. It's not a spoiler.
And they even said Endgame and Infinity War. So it's
yeah.
Not like, of course, that was also cover of a Batman issue as well.
Yeah, that's the only kid. There was a Batman story called Endgame.
Yep.
Not too long ago.
It was in the New 52.
Yeah, with Scott Snyder.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, oh well.
But no, still very, very good. So yeah, I thoroughly enjoyed it.
Good times. Yep. So is that all we've got for
Endgame?
That's it for
Endgame. So, Detective 1000. Detective 1000. How many months behind are we on this one? What issue's out now?
1003, but I think it's bi-weekly again.
Yeah.
So we're not that. It's not as bad as it looks on the stands.
Yeah.
So yeah, the story since has been really good though too.
Oh, I haven't been reading Detective.
Yeah.
So which I think I would be upset if I had been reading Detective all along, picking up this issue, because this is just a whole bunch of 8-page stories crammed into a single book. How many of these stories are actually carrying anything moving forward? Since you're reading it, I don't know. I'm asking you.
I probably not as much as it should be.
Mm-hmm.
I will say that Pete Tomasi they were doing a story leading up to this that ended in 999, which I feel like really should have ended in 1000.
Right.
I feel like maybe that was the plan, but they changed to what we got here, and I think we'll talk about that a little later here.
Yeah, because he gets the last story in the book.
And that story that they were doing previously really would have been a good story for this anniversary issue. But again, it's like we got what we got. So yeah, again, spoilers for this if you haven't read it at this point. But yeah, so this is this year's Batman's 80th anniversary. Right. Due to some publishing shenanigans, we're getting issue 1000 this year. Just sort of accelerated timelines, as far as deadlines and things that they've had over the years. We got Action 1000 last year,
right? And Marvel's joining in. They've got like a Marvel 1000. We'll talk about that in the next preview.
Yeah, I'll have some things to say about that.
Yeah.
So again, start off with the cover. The standard.
It's white, perfectly white.
Right.
I'm holding the blank.
a lot of variants for this one. We still have quite a few of them here at the store too. If you're looking for any of the sort of standard variants, not the store exclusives.
Yeah, I got the blank, got the Jim Lee. That's like the midnight release one with the
sideways Jim Lee.
I see the Frank Miller up there and the
Jock and Greg Capullo and Tim Sale, Bernie Wrightson, Jim Stranko. Michael chose 51, which I love. And Steve Rude's
the
40s, I think.
Yeah. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Are you like isn't that all of them?
No, we don't have the Bruce Timm one in stock any longer.
Okay.
People kind of snatched that one up.
All right.
Again, it's a great cover. So,
yes.
But yeah, pretty much all these are really good. But yeah, so Jim Lee's kind of standard cover though has got everybody kind of hanging out in the Batcave, having defeated a bunch of Batman villains. My thing with this, just the cover is, where's Batgirl? Because we've got Nightwing, Alfred, Batman, Catwoman, Robin, Damian Wayne Robin. I feel like Batgirl should be in here somewhere, and she's not. Maybe she's taking the photo that we're seeing on the cover.
She took the picture.
So it starts off, we've got the first story, Batman's Longest Case by Scott Snyder and Greg Capullo. Just for me, and I think, did we talk about this previously? We might have just been talking in the store about this.
We were talking about with an episode in the last previews with Event Leviathan, where they had all the different detectives on the covers. And what we were saying is they should have incorporated this into that event, because you had detectives there with Question and was Plastic Man on the Event Leviathan?
I think so, but I think there is a little bit of crossover here. But yeah, this story establishes a new sort of detectives club, and this is something they've done in Batman periodically over the years. And so I felt like, oh, this is just setting up like a new version of that.
Yeah.
But again, with Event Leviathan, we have a different group, so I feel like this probably isn't going anywhere.
Yeah.
And it just seems like kind of a weird thing to do so close to each other.
Exactly. Yeah. They should have, because they could have easily changed who was in this picture.
For sure.
You know, or added one more character to the Event Leviathan story.
Just on a personal note, so Scott Snyder and Greg Capullo have been working together since New 52.
Mm-hmm.
And
before that.
yeah. But we have a more classic version of Batman here, the sort of blue and gray, not the black that Capullo's been drawing. So it just looks a little weird to me.
Oh, okay.
And I feel like, why not just do your version? But, you know, again, it's the 80th anniversary. Maybe they just want a more classic looking costume here. But it looks, I keep looking at this thinking it looks wrong. And it's not wrong, it's just a choice they made for this story.
Yeah, that's not something that jumped out at me at all. But
yeah,
the only Batman
I'm
just reading is Batman, just the main book.
Right.
So.
But I'm just kind of used to the sort of streamlined silhouette that Capullo does with his Batman. So next up we've got
let's see, the Legend of Newt Brody. No, wait, I skipped.
No, Manufacture for Use
Okay,
is the Kevin Smith story, and this kind of sets up something that we first learned about in Dark Knight Returns back in the day. You have this Matches Malone, which is Batman's criminal identity.
Right, his alter ego.
Yeah, going to sort of a black market store here, looking for. Looks like they kind of trade in like supervillain props and things from notorious crime scenes around Gotham. And throughout the story, we're seeing Batman being attacked by several different villains. And I didn't pick up on this till the end, but every shot of the fight has Batman being targeted in his chest on his symbol.
Okay.
And again, that's kind of what the whole point is.
Oh, the symbol. Yeah, I hadn't noticed that. Okay.
Yeah, I didn't notice it till I went back. But they're establishing the metal plate that is revealed in Dark Knight Returns that Batman has under his symbol. Is like, it's a target.
Right.
I want people to aim here because I can't armor my entire body, even though they've done many times since.
Yes.
But they're saying here that that piece is the gun from the Wayne murder that he acquired, melted down, and made into this plate, which now protects him.
Say what you want about Kevin Smith as a writer. He always is able to find some heartstring pull of the thing that he does. And this is probably my favorite story in Detective 1000.
Okay.
So, yeah, I really enjoyed this story, but yeah, it was just, now we get the origin of what piece of metal is actually protecting Batman's heart.
Again, did we need that story? Probably not, but it's kind of a cool Easter egg thing. It kind of it adds to it some. Yeah. And again, another just real kind of blue and gray classic looking Batman. And so with a Matches Malone story, the next one is the Legend of Newt Brody, which is a henchman that, you know, spoilers, turns out to be a henchman identity for the Batman family that they pass around.
Yes, they all take turns playing Newt Brody.
Yeah, and sort of stumble their way into foiling villains' plans. And again, this is a cool idea. They haven't really done this before. I hope they do this. I hope somebody uses Newt Brody in the future. You know, like you see Matches Malone periodically every now and then. They'll just kind of bring him up, and you know what the deal is. So I really hope this isn't the only appearance of Newt Brody that we get.
Because then when you see him again, it's like, well, okay, which person is it actually being Newt Brody this time?
And you could definitely play around with that and do some fun stuff.
So next one, Batman's design.
Yeah, and so this is Warren Ellis and Becky Cloonan. Blecky Coonan. But so just sort of Batman taking on some thugs, kind of a violent story.
Right. Now this is one, and we kind of talked about this after the show last time. It's just like I feel like I'm missing the punchline on this one. So here Warren Ellis is generally regarded as a pretty good writer. So we've got again violent story. He's bringing these thugs, henchmen, whatever, into an environment that he's set up a bunch of traps for various, and he kind of can control the situation. So here at the very end of this story, where he's basically going one-on-one against, I guess, the leader of this group, and he just basically talks the guy down at the end. It's like, is that what you want for yourself? The guy says no, and he gives up his detonator, and it's just like, I feel like there's something I'm missing to this story. I feel like I missed the punchline.
Well, I think, where is it here? Okay, so Batman's talking the guy down. The guy's wearing like a suicide vest.
Yes, yeah.
Batman talks him down, says, "I'm already dead. Look at me. I'm trapped in this place, and all I do is haunt the living. Is that what you want for yourself?" And this guy's like, no, I don't want that life that Batman leads.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I think it's just Batman's a badass.
Yeah.
I think that's what it comes down to.
So I don't know. I just feel like I missed something, but it's a good story. But I really feel like there's more. There's some subtext that I'm just not quite getting, and it may just be as simple as what you're saying, but I feel like there was something more to it, and I just wasn't smart enough to figure it out.
I mean, if there is, I'm missing it too. So don't be too hard on yourself there. And if you know, let us know.
Yeah, there you
Hit
go.
us up on Facebook or Twitter and come into the store and chew us out.
There you go. So
it's
obviously this.
Look here, dummies.
Yeah.
So after that, we've got Return to Crime Alley by Danny O'Neill with Steve Epting. And this is a sequel to Appointment in Crime Alley, I believe, which is an old detective story by Danny O'Neill from back in the day. And so this is Leslie Tompkins. And if you're like, this doesn't look like Leslie Tompkins, this is the 70s old lady version of Leslie Tompkins. This is sort of the original version of the character here. And again, we go from a very violent story to a story where she's sort of condemning Batman for the violence that he, kind of lives with, and how he deals with these, thugs in the street, these random kind of kids gone astray. And I think it's a good story. It's good to see Danny O'Neill in here. Such a big part of Batman, and he's turning 80 this year too.
Oh, wow.
So another cool reason to kind of have him in this issue. After that, we have a story called Blame, and drawn, is it written to? But Neil Adams did the art.
Yeah, Christopher Priest was the writer.
Oh, that's right, yeah. I think it's interesting that we have Danny O'Neill and Neil Adams in this book right next to each other, and they did not work together, folks. Yeah. And they just announced today there's a Neil Adams Batman vs. Ra's al Ghul miniseries coming out that Neil Adams is writing and drawing.
Well, that will be terrible.
Yeah, I know. Just suck it up and work together.
No, no kidding. So
after the last story of Batman kind of being chastised for his violence, we have a story here where Batman is dealing with sort of defectors from the League of Assassins and sort of the consequences he deals with that. And then telling them that, like, I will help these people that want to leave. I don't care. You know what I mean? Even if it puts them at odds with the League. Again, sort of doing things a little differently maybe for Batman. But could definitely lead to some cool stories if they do anything with this. Yeah. After that, we have I Know by Brian Michael Bendis and Alex Mayleaf.
I love this paired when they work together.
Yeah, and this is a really good story. And this is more like what I thought we were going to get from Brian Michael Bendis when he came to DC. I think this is kind of what everybody was thinking. But we just have like a elderly Bruce Wayne and Oswald Cobblepot at sort of a rest home in their advanced age. And Penguin coming up to Bruce Wayne and telling him that I've known for years who you were. I figured it out years ago, but I'd never acted on it because what would be the fallout? And he's like, I knew, have that up on you, and Bruce Wayne electrocutes him with his chair,
because I knew
wheelchair. He's like, I knew you knew in the same way I knew what a coward you were, and saying that's why he never acted on it. But again, even in his old age, Bruce Wayne could still throw down.
Of course, that does kind of go against what's going on with Tom King, where he's going to be Alzheimer's, before this point in his life. So
right.
A little continuity there for anybody who's...
So they'll figure it out.
Yeah, they'll work it out in some reboot at some point. So.
Next, we've got Last Crime in Gotham. We've got Jeff Johns here with Kelly Jones. I'm really glad that Kelly Jones was able to do something in this issue. I love his Batman work. This is probably a more optimistic sort of story. It's still some gruesome, scary stuff in here, but a little more colorful than we usually get with Kelly Jones' Batman work. We've got like a whole Batman family here. We've got Robin, Catwoman, a new daughter, and a more Crypto, the Superdog cartoon version of Ace, with the sort of utility belt collar than we usually get when we have Ace in a story. And setting up a Son of Joker story. And again, they've done that back to the Silver Age and things like that. With sort of the legacy of these characters and how that plays out. And then again, at the end we realize that this whole story is the wish Bruce makes when he blows out the candle on his birthday cake. That this is sort of like best case scenario for how his life turns out.
The Precedent next, James Tynion the fourth writer, and Alvaro Martinez Bueno. Pencils. I didn't really have any comments on that one myself. I don't know.
Well, I think it's a decent, kind of Robin story. It's just sort of Alfred and Bruce talking about, like, what does this mean if you bring a child into your war here? And again, it's something to talk about because it's a weird thing that Batman has done, for decades. And again, it kind of ends with a splash page of sort of a classic Batman and Robin, and then setting up this sort of oath image from Robin's origin story. After that, we have Batman's Greatest Case, and that is Tom King and Tony Daniel and Joel Jones. They kind of split up the credits here, trying to be a movie or something, so I have to look around a little bit. But we see like the sort of Batman family assembling on a rooftop.
They're trying to figure out why.
Yeah, nobody knows. And Bruce Wayne, Batman shows up eventually, and it turns out he's there to take a picture with everybody.
With everybody. Cheese.
Yeah.
I got a 2-page spread of the whole Batman family with Batman saying cheese. Of course,
right.
Only Batgirl's the only one smiling in Ace.
Yeah, you're right. I hadn't noticed that, but they totally are, aren't they? Alfred's smiling a little bit there.
Yeah, it's more of a smirk for him, I would say. I guess, is it Signal?
Might be.
Signal sort of is.
But again, not a lot of smiles.
No, not a whole lot of smiles.
But again, it's Batman.
And, they didn't know what they were being, that it was all there. And it's a lot of work just for a picture.
Right. Well, that's probably what it would be. You have to make time.
Yep.
So after that, we've got some pinups. We have another 2-page spread with a lot of the Batman family by Jason Fabok, which is really good. Really like that.
And some of his enemies as well.
Yeah. We've got Amanda Connor and Paul Mounts one. And so then from those, we kind of go into this story with Pete Tomasi and Doug Monk, which is sort of like a 1-page pinup kind of thing. It's kind of a weird transition from pinups in the story to a pinup story.
Well, this is like one of my big gripes with Batman 50, the Tom King issue, was you had a bunch of pinups and then text thrown on top of it. Right. So basically,
which is sort of par for the course with DC with their anniversary issues. They like doing that stuff.
So this is kind of what you get for this. So I assume this is Tomasi writing through all of this. Yeah, and it's, I don't know, this could be interesting, but I kind of feel like it's, in a way, it's kind of silly because, it's basically the punchline is, what happens if you say Batman too fast? Then instead of being Batman, you get Bad Man. So this is apparently going to be the new Bad for Detective.
Yeah, so the last page is a splash page, sort of introducing the DC Comics version of the Arkham Knight from the Arkham Knight game. As we're recording this, it has been revealed who this is. It is not Jason Todd, which they were upfront about when they started this. I'm liking the story so far, but again, it's sort of a petered out ending to Detective 1000. I feel like there's a better way to end it than what they did here. The last story is kind of my least favorite, which is too bad because I really like Pete Tomasi and Doug Monk, and they've had a good run on the book prior to this.
Well, I looked at it as, if I was reading Detective through this, I would know that, okay, this is what I have moving forward. So this is a story arc in Detective moving forward. So I thought it was like, well, I guess to me, I don't read it, so if they'd done something great with this character, then that would have been a good ending to this issue. But if they didn't do anything great with it, then you won't know until a few issues later.
Exactly. So. It's just like, here it is, bye.
Yeah. We'll give you one pin-up of what he looks like and a few words with some other pin-ups to kind of move you to that page.
Yeah. Yeah, and I was pretty, and the thing is, too, they had said that this is not Jason Todd, and my thing is like, okay, so who cares? What does that mean this character is? How does this work within the context of DC? With the Arkham Knight game, it's its own continuity, it's its own thing. They could do that. Arkham Knight kind of took the place of Red Hood in that story. So it's like, what does that mean? But having read the reveal last night, actually, I'm satisfied with it. I think it's a cool new character. They could probably do some stuff with. We'll see where it goes. But I really liked it otherwise. Again, I feel like the issue's really strong. I feel like this is better than Action 1000.
Yes.
Both, I think, typically when DC does these anniversary issues, you get a lot of filler. You get, maybe just stories they've been sitting on, like, throw it in there, kind of thing. But, I feel like this is a really strong, and there were a lot of interviews and stuff leading up to this, and I feel like everybody kind of knew that they were contributing to something, important with DC's publishing history.
I think they learned from some of the mistakes they made with Action 1000.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, I think they did. Again, it's a $10 price tag for this book, too, which is pretty steep, even for a 96-page book. But again, that's kind of where we're going with everything. Nothing's getting cheaper.
Nope.
That's kind of like my only complaint, really, of the book. That and some of the crazy variants that are just impossible to get.
Yeah.
Because there are some really nice ones out there. But, overall, I was really satisfied with this. I thought it's a good issue. Anything more?
No, I thought it was pretty good too. Really enjoyed the Kevin Smith story. The Tom King story was good, but it was a lot of effort just to get a picture, family photo. But it was still a good story.
Yeah.
Several good standalone stories in this one.
Yeah, for sure. Again, not a lot of weight as far as continuity, probably, but again, some cool ideas. That hopefully they'll play into something else, kind of like what Tom King's Mr. Miracle book was. So yeah, I mean, I imagine we'll probably reference the plate a little more now and then.
Mm-hmm.
Hopefully we see Brody pop up some point. I can't imagine people just let that stuff lie.
Some
until the next reboot anyway.
Yeah, some comic historian will go back to it at some point in the future. So
maybe we'll get an old Penguin story again at some point. Maybe they'll tie into Last Night on Earth. But yeah, so overall, I'd give it a very fine.
Yeah, I'd be like a very fine minus, probably in that range. So, yep.
Good times.
Yep.
Better than Action 1000.
It was much better than Cats. I'd see it over and over again.
Right.
Sorry.
So that's about it for this time. I think anything else we want to bring up?
No.
Any other controversies we need to address?
I don't think so. We'll probably. I don't know. We talked about reviewing the Watchmen trailer. I've only seen it once. I think I need to sit down and watch it a little bit more closely before we talk about
we'll
it.
Talk about that more as the show gets closer and they actually say what it is.
Yeah.
It's so nebulous right now what that show is going to be, and I don't think that trailer really answers any question. It kind of brings up more questions, if anything.
Even like well, I guess it answers. It's going to be timeline after the events of the Watchmen.
I would assume
series, but other than that, it still doesn't tell you a whole lot.
Yeah. So, okay, I think that's it for this episode of the Campus Comics Cast. This is Dan Brown, and we're always here at 816 Suite B, East Main Street in Carbondale, 618-457-6011, or, you can hit us up on Facebook or Twitter, like and subscribe. Leave a review of the podcast. We'd really appreciate it. I mean, yes, it helps the podcast, but it helps us. We're kind of working in a vacuum here with this stuff. I know there's people listening, but yeah, let us know what you think. We definitely need, to grow, and that only helps.
Be sure to subscribe. Even if you download it directly, be sure that you subscribe to it. It's kind of hard to tell. I think I kind of made a mistake whenever I put it basically on every single podcast feed that you could add it to. So now it's so spread out between all the different things that you're not getting enough in any one of them to really bump it up. I think if it were all in one, that it'd be a little bit more obvious, the numbers and such. Right. But please subscribe and leave it a review. But yeah, as Dan said, leave a comment on the Campus Comics Facebook page about a question you'd like us to answer, or just general thoughts.
Yeah, if you have any topics you want us to address, maybe there's a book you want us to review or something, let us know. Yep. We don't always think of every obvious thing that we should. So do that. And again, just to sort of address, there's a lot of stuff going on at the store right now. There might be sporadic hours. We try to keep that posted on Facebook and Twitter, so follow us there. And again, of course, you can always call before you come in or whatever, so that never hurts. That's fine. So you just kind of bear with us for a little while now while we're going through all that. And I think next episode we'll probably be looking at the next previews.
Next issue previews, yep.
So that'll be that. So you can look forward to that and going through the previous catalog. And I'm Dan Brown. I'm online at Detective651.
And Scott Reed. You can find me at burgcomics.com, burgcomics.com. And I just recently purchased a pretty good size collection with some Golden Age on up to modern books. Lots of variants. Some keys like Avengers 57, First Vision, and the Green Lantern 76. And cool. And the Hulk 180 and a Strange Tales 110. So I'll be, putting up stuff about those books on my Facebook page and at conventions. Then this will be out in time for the Metropolis Superman celebration. So I'll be setting up at the SuperCon at the Superman celebration. So you can check me down there. The Marv Wolfman's going to be at the Superman celebration. There were a couple of artists that had some comic book credits, but nothing significant. Or super big. Probably not people that you maybe have heard of, but check the Superman Celebration website and you get information about them.
All right. Well, I think that's it for this time. We'll see you next time. think that's it for this time. We'll see you next time through the voice.